Well, then, with that all being said, we got our rumor reels to talk about because we
Yeah.
finished our 5 topics today. So let's hit it!
Now settle in, folks. It's time for the rumor reel.
So our rumor reel for the day is Henry Cavill in the MCU. Oh, this comes to us
Ooh.
from IMDb. Henry Cavill has expressed his eagerness to join the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Captain Britain. In a chat with The Hollywood Reporter, Cavill mentioned he's aware of the buzz around him taking up the role and finds the idea quite appealing. He says, I have the internet and I have seen, let me do this with a British accent. I have the internet and I have seen the various rumors about Captain Britain, and that would be loads of fun to do, a cool modernized version of that, like the way they modernized Captain America. There's something fun about that. I do love being British, he stated. So, thank you so much.
I love that he says that. I do love being British.
I mean, it is pretty good, and I can hear that in his voice. He's so charismatic about it.
Yeah, he's
But
funny.
it continues to say, for those not in the loop, Captain Britain, aka Brian Braddock, isn't just a British version of Captain America. Introduced in 1976, this character wields magical powers granted by Merlin, making him a unique blend of superhero and mystical protector. His stories often intertwine with magical realms, adding a rich layer to his character that could bring a fresh twist to the MCU. So basically, he's Shazam, except he's not a kid.
For Captain Britain, you mean?
Yeah, Captain Britain is just Shazam, just not a kid. So but he's British.
That's a simplified way of putting it. Yeah.
Well, if he doesn't drink tea, then there's something wrong. You got to have like a nice tea scene when you're doing this kind of movie.
I'm sure you do.
Oh, totally. You have to. But okay, so I think that's pretty cool. Well, also let's talk about Henry Cavill's age really quick. The man is, I believe, 40 now, right?
Wow, is he?
I think so. If you want to Google that, feel free.
I will Google that.
But so I think at the age of 40, I'm like, all right, you know what? I think it's doable for him to do a role like this if he wants to do it for 10 years.
He's 40. Yep.
I think. Oh, he is 40. Confirmed.
40,
yep. But I think it is doable. If he's going to do another 10 years of this, great. And that character, he's essentially another Superman, though, is what I also say. So my argument is kind of like, do you really want to play Superman again, just in a different sense? Or would you rather play a villain, Raul?
Yeah.
But before I go into that, what do you think about his idea as Captain Britain?
Sure. I mean, I think, he's British,
sure.
and he's British. He loves being British. Great. Captain Britain. I can see him as being Captain Britain. Captain Britain. Captain Crunch. No. I can see him being Captain Britain. I think but like you said, like I've heard a lot of people say that too. It's too close to Superman. So, but he's clearly interested in it. So it's not like he thinks like, oh, that's too close to what I've done. Maybe he can see himself doing it from a different perspective that can be different enough from Superman. That he feels comfortable enough, wanting to do Captain Britain. So, I think that'd be cool. I can also, I can see him doing other roles as well. Besides Captain Britain, because I guess you could say maybe it's a little too on the nose, or it's just it can be too close to Superman. But the fact that he's kind of like the British version of Captain America, I mean,
That's pretty cool. I mean,
it's pretty. Yeah, I think Captain America is a little more down to earth kind of a character versus Superman, who's just like so big and larger than life. I think that there is enough difference there.
Plus, also like when you're trying to replace Iron Man and Captain America right now in the MCU, like who do you choose to do this? Like sure, we've got Spider-Man and we've got other characters like that, but like Spider-Man's part of the Sonyverse as well, so I don't know how much control Marvel can really have on him. Everybody else they're cool, but like no one's really popped just yet. We killed off Wanda, like okay, so that's a thing. Like everybody we love is either dead or not in action anymore. So it's kind of difficult to find that decision, that leader, that person that could lead everybody.
Or even like the actors, because Chadwick Boseman, supposedly Black Panther was set to be the leader going forward, but Of course,
would have been cool,
Chadwick
but
Boseman passed away. Yeah.
yeah. But that's the natural thing, right? I mean, that sometimes those types of things happen, which
Right.
we don't want them to, but that's how it goes sometimes. But I know I mentioned a villain role before, but I want to start off with this other good guy, which is we have our list here, Cyclops. He could possibly be a future Cyclops in the MCU, which, I think Henry Cavill as his Superman role, you do see like a Boy Scout kind of vibe to him. And Cyclops, I would argue, is one of the most Boy Scouts of the X-Men. And he has to have the charm of a leader as well. And I think the original X-Men movies didn't really do as much justice to Cyclops. And you would agree,
They
right?
totally shafted James Marsden. I mean, all
Oh
three of
man.
those movies, he was totally underserved.
Yeah, and I think you're missing so much that you could be doing with Cyclops. And I feel like if you brought in Henry Cavill to play Cyclops, I mean, there's something that could give him more importance. You could give him more purpose, I guess,
Mm.
How do you feel about Cyclops?
I don't know. I think he's got the right sensibilities, right? Like you said, like the Boy Scout kind of thing. He can do that very well. I just think he's too old. And I know
Mm,
it's weird saying that because he's only 40, but I feel like they want to, for the most part, at least with the X-Men, I feel like they want to reboot and start younger.
mm,
Whoever they end up casting as all the new, the new batch of mutants here, they would want to skew younger.
mm.
That's my thing, and I feel like Henry Cavill's just a little too old to start being Cyclops now. You know what I mean? They want to
Yeah.
hang on to these actors for years to come. So if you start them off, if you get an older actor like Henry Cavill, which is again, I hate that. I hate saying that, but because he's only 40. But yeah, very very quickly he will get a little too old to continue being the role, playing the role. So except for like with in the case of like the Fantastic Four, you got Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards, which I think is different though. He's Reed Richards is kind of he needs to be kind of the adult, and I know in the comics they've played him, they've had him as in different ages, but I think traditionally Reed Richards for the most part needs to be the kind of the adult in the room, right? So it makes sense that they would go for an older actor. But with the X-Men, to reboot the X-Men, I would want to skew younger, and I think
Well then,
Marvel would want to also.
let's jump into the Fantastic Four then, because our next guy on the list is Doctor Doom as a possibility for Henry Cavill. I like the idea of being the best superhero in the DC universe and then being the best villain in the MCU. That really sounds really cool to me, and I think that'd be a really good marketing idea for Henry Cavill. If he's really considering joining the MCU. Plus, also because of his age, he's kind of closer now to Pedro Pascal, so there's
Right.
that age combination right there going on. And also, the idea of hiding his face more often. It's less about look at Henry Cavill, we got him from the DCU, and it's more about look at Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom is here, and he's ready to murder some people, and be the king of the world, and start the Secret Wars, and start Battle World and stuff like that. But what do you think about Doctor Doom, Raul?
I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it. I just don't. I mean, I think Doctor Doom. I have not seen anything from Henry Cavill yet that shows me he can do like a Doctor Doom type role. I don't know. I'm having a hard time putting my finger on it exactly. I can see Henry Cavill, if we're going to get away from Superman and do something completely different, I can see Henry Cavill doing like an anti-hero kind of thing. But especially after seeing the trailer for that, what is it? Oh God, and the Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Oh yeah.
Whatever that movie that's coming out. Seeing him kind of like in a different way, kind of unhinged, and like I could see him being like an anti-hero, kind of mercenary type character, but I don't see him yet. I have not seen anything from him yet that shows me that he can do something this kind of larger than life evil character like Doctor Doom. I don't know.
Well, then, if we want to talk about more wilder side of Henry Cavill, we also have these other two on the list. We got Dracula and Mr. Sinister. So Dracula, everybody knows Dracula. He's heavily rumored, apparently, to be the main villain in the upcoming Blade reboot. So maybe after 17 and a half years, we can finally have Blade finally come out with Mahershala Ali. He'll be 85 years old when the movie comes out. Sorry for that, but it's okay. He's immortal, so he looks like he'll barely age. But so that'd be pretty cool. We've seen The Witcher. We've seen Henry Cavill in The Witcher, and he has that brooding, dark energy about him that could easily pull off a Dracula. We could also see him as Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister is obsessed with making the perfect human or mutant and is a constant foe of the X-Men. He's the biggest villain in the franchise that never made it to the big screen, it says over here. So that's another thing. I mean, if we're entering the mutant stuff, then, maybe Henry Cavill could have a purpose to enter there. The other question is, does Henry Cavill want to stay in the MCU for a long time if he ends up doing it for real? What do you think about all of that, Raul?
Well, I will say, I do. These last two, I can see. I can see him playing like Dracula. Totally. And I can see him playing Mr. Sinister. I don't know. Again, I can't quite put my finger on it, but I can just by visuals in my head, I can easily see him playing those characters. What was it the last thing that you said about, what was the last thing you said just now?
About the whole universe? How long Henry Cavill would want to stay in the MCU?
I don't know. I think he would, if he's playing a character, I think he would want to stay for a while. You know, as long as Marvel will have him. Which, can I just stop for a second and just think, how crazy is it? If this is true, if he switches and jumps ship going over to Marvel, how crazy is that? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's so strange, especially after everything that happened with DC. And how he just kind of got thrown away like some chum in the water, just it's so crazy. He was set up to come back, as Superman fighting Black Adam. But of course that movie did terribly and they were going to reboot anyway, which ultimately I agree was for the best. But it sucks the way Henry Cavill was let go. Yeah. And just so crazy. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to go over to Marvel.
Yeah, it really is. It would be a slap to the face to DC in a way. But at the same time, they don't need him anymore. He's no longer required. He doesn't have to be Superman. So why not move on to the next thing? There's been plenty of actors who've gone from Marvel to DC, DC to Marvel kind of stuff. But, I guess maybe this is just the biggest version of this because now we actually have the main dude that was leading the DC universe last time, now going to a Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that is kind of a big deal, but it's also, I don't know, it almost feels right in a way. Now, let me throw this one last curveball at you, Raul. I want to see what you think of this. What if Henry Cavill is signing on to play Professor Xavier? No. No? You don't think so? No. Think about it. Think about it. Let me pitch this for you. Did you ever watch Enola Holmes with the girl from Stranger Things?
I never watched it, but yeah, with Millie Bobby Brown. I never watched it, but yeah, and Henry Cavill's in it. He plays Sherlock.
He plays Sherlock. Imagine that with a mix of the joyful Superman he tried to portray for the Joss Whedon Superman Justice League. Put that together, put him in a wheelchair, shave his head, He's 40, which means you could have the X-Men mutant stuff for the next 10 to 20 years with this guy, I'm
just not seeing it. I don't know. He's too big. I don't know. He's just too big.
He could slim down. If he slims down a little bit.
I don't know. Maybe
all you got to do is stop eating so much protein,
I don't know, man. I don't see it. You know who? Somebody like on the caliber. Remember those rumors? Well, not rumors, but it was going around. Giancarlo Esposito was saying like he would love to play Professor Xavier in a movie. I can see that more than I can see Henry Cavill playing Xavier. I can see Giancarlo Esposito or a Giancarlo Esposito type over Henry Cavill.
Louis C.K. Let's get him in there.
Louis C.K.
Let's get Louis C.K. in there. He's going to use his mind abilities to, do crazy dumb things.
People would welcome him back, right?
I think so. He would be uncanceled immediately.
It'll be. Yeah. Louis C.K.
We would rejoice.
We'll forget about everything. Yeah,
rejoice.
Exactly what
you have been privileged by the mad titan Louis C.K. Oh, Jesus. I think that would be not
Oh,
not Louis C.K. but Giancarlo Esposito would be that would be a pretty good choice as well for sure.
yeah, yeah. I
But
think it's just
now
yeah,
that my brain said Xavier for Henry Cavill, I'm like, oh, dude, like I don't know about you, but I feel like I could see it if he changed up a few things about his performance. That's all. That's all I feel about it.
yeah.
But
I just think for Xavier, you need like a different caliber of actor. You know what I mean? Like I don't
mm,
know.
but like,
Again, I haven't
how do you top uh Patrick Stewart? You know, like this guy's not going to be
right.
Xavier too much more after this. You know, I mean, maybe Secret Wars, and then that'll be the end of it. You know,
And
because
I did love McAvoy's turn as Xavier. I thought he
oh
did a great
yeah,
job as
yeah,
Xavier. You know, a
that's true.
slightly different Xavier, especially if you look back at First Class. You know, he did
Right.
something completely different from what you would expect from like Patrick Stewart. But I liked his Xavier. So even something along those lines too.
So either bring him back or get a new cast with a new actor that can play this character role for the next 15 to 20 years. Maybe 15 years max. I don't know how long these actors want to be playing these roles for. I think they've all learned from, Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. that once you hit that 10 to 15-year mark, it's kind of you start to run dry. Like there's not as
Right.
much you can do with the character after all that time period goes by.